In the distant reaches of the galaxy, a small, battered spacecraft emerged from a violent warp storm, its hull scorched and systems failing. The ship's last occupant, an alien girl named Lyra, had been through hell. Her home planet, once vibrant and full of life, had been ravaged by a war she could not comprehend. Now, she floated helplessly in the vastness of space, the only remnant of her civilization. As the ship's systems sputtered, Lyra's heart raced. She had learned from her elders that survival was a delicate dance, one she felt ill-equipped to perform. The girls of her race were taught to be nurturing, compassionate, and resilient, but she was also deeply aware of her vulnerability. As the vessel's alarms blared, her tiny green fingers trembled over the controls, but she had no knowledge of how to save herself. With a final shuddering gasp, the ship plummeted towards the nearest habitable planet, Earth. The vast blue orb welcomed her with open arms, and she crash-landed in a remote forest, the flames of her craft painting the night sky with hues of orange and red. The impact knocked her unconscious, leaving her fragile body crumpled amongst the wreckage. As dawn broke, a group of curious humans stumbled upon the crash site. They were drawn by the strange glow and the smell of burnt metal. Instead of finding a creature that begged for help, they found only the wreckage and a frail figure lying among the debris. Lyra, her alien features delicate and her body vulnerable, stirred awake to see a circle of humans staring at her. Their expressions a mix of curiosity and fear. "Look at her! She's just a kid!" one of the humans exclaimed, his voice laced with surprise. But another, a woman with piercing blue eyes, scowled. "We shouldn't get too close. She could be dangerous. Look at those claws." Lyra's heart sank. She could sense their fear and suspicion. A chill ran through her as she realized that they might abandon her like everyone else had before. The memories of her family being taken away one by one resurfaced. Would these humans do the same? Before she could react, they began to argue amongst themselves, weighing their options. Some wanted to help her. Others believed she posed a threat. It was a familiar dance of abandonment, one she had grown to dread. As they debated, Lyra felt the warmth of tears trickling down her cheeks, a futile display of her desperation. In that moment, something unexpected happened. From the shadows emerged a figure, a man who bore the unmistakable mark of the hunter. He was tall, muscular, and clad in a rugged jacket. His hair was wild, and his face was lined with the harsh realities of life. This was Marcus, known in his community as the Carnivorous human. He had earned that title not because he hunted for sport, but because he was unafraid to confront danger and defend the weak. "Enough!" he shouted, silencing the group. "This girl is hurt. She needs our help, not our fear. We can't turn our backs on her." The crowd hesitated, taken aback by his words. Marcus stepped closer to Lyra, his eyes softening. "Hey there, little one. You're safe now. We'll help you." Lyra looked up at him, hope flickering in her heart. Unlike the others, he didn't seem repulsed by her alien appearance. Instead, he reached out, offering her his hand. Hesitantly, she took it, feeling the warmth radiate from his palm. It was a stark contrast to the cold abandonment she had known. As Marcus led her away from the wreckage, the group reluctantly followed, their unease still palpable. They reached a small town, where the locals eyed Lyra with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. But Marcus stood firm, advocating for her with an unwavering resolve. "She's not a monster. She's lost and alone, just like many of us have been at some point in our lives," he declared, his voice carrying authority. The townsfolk began to soften, the initial fear melting away as they saw Lyra's small frame and her wide, innocent eyes. One by one, they offered her food and comfort. A kind-hearted woman knelt beside her, brushing the dirt from her face and murmuring soothing words. Days turned into weeks, and Lyra found solace among these so-called carnivorous humans. They were not the savages she had been warned about. They were complex beings who had faced their own battles. They taught her about their world, their fears, hopes, and the struggles that lay ahead. In return, Lyra shared her story, her knowledge of the stars and the songs of her home. She spoke of her planet's lush landscapes and the vibrant life that once thrived. In those moments, she found her voice, reclaiming the narrative that had been stolen from her. The humans listened intently, their hearts growing fonder of the girl who had crash-landed among them. As the months passed, Lyra transformed. No longer just a helpless alien girl, she became an integral part of the community. Her healing abilities, an innate gift from her species, saved lives during the harsh winters. She helped the townsfolk adapt to the changing seasons, ensuring everyone had enough to eat. But as her bond with the humans deepened, the memory of her home lingered like a shadow. One evening, while gazing at the stars, she felt the pull of her past. She longed to return, to heal her planet and reunite with her lost kin. Yet she also understood that her new family had shown her a side of humanity that was rare and precious. The day came when a familiar spacecraft appeared on the horizon, having tracked her distress signal. Lyra stood at the edge of the forest, torn between two worlds. As the ship landed, she looked back at the humans who had welcomed her with open arms. Marcus stepped forward, his expression a mix of pride and sadness. "You found a home here, Lyra, but if you need to go, we will always support your choice." With a heavy heart, Lyra turned to the spacecraft, her thoughts racing. She could leave and seek the remnants of her civilization, or she could stay and build a new life among those who had chosen to embrace her. In that moment, she realized that true family wasn't bound by blood or origin, but by the connections forged in kindness and courage. With tears in her eyes, she took a deep breath and stepped away from the ship. "I choose to stay," she declared, a smile breaking through her uncertainty. As the humans erupted in cheers, Marcus wrapped an arm around her shoulders, and Lyra knew she had finally found her place in the universe. Together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, proving that even the most abandoned beings could find acceptance and love among the most unlikely of allies.